what we try to tell families, or what I've even told families, is you have to pace yourself. Just like you are running a marathon, you have to set your pace and know when you have to push a little harder and know when you have to pull it back. And it is an arduous journey, and often it's a journey without a map. It's like, for some families, it's like taking a hike in the woods in the dark without a flashlight. It's dangerous for some. They trip, they fall, they hurt themselves. They don't know which way is right and which way is left. All they know is that they're in this abyss of darkness. And then all of a sudden, there's a light. And sometimes the light is, they find a place where they can find solace, or they find a place that they can turn for guidance, or somebody educates them, or gives them some knowledge. And the journey begins to get a little bit smoother. And as time goes along and they learn how to work in the system and how to make the system work for them, the journey gets easier. And then sometimes some family members get really lucky and realize that they are entitled to a life of their own as well. And that is a wonderful and glorious thing to see happen. And we're seeing this more and more. Families coming out the other side, and we keep telling them, believe, keep the faith, keep your head up, keep focused on hope, keep putting one foot in front of the other. And it is a tough journey, but we know it is a journey that they can get through with the right help.
And so we're at a stage now where life feels stable, purposeful, challenging. It's always going to be challenging, but we're at a stage now where we no longer feel like we're walking on eggshells all the time. And there was a period of several years when we really felt like we were walking on eggshells, that crisis could occur at any moment. And that was very difficult. But over time, given the recovery process, I think we're now much more confident that the future is not to be feared but to be embraced.
There's very often a cliche where people say, I look back at the pain and the suffering, whatever, as a gift. And people go, yeah, right, that was some gift. The expression that I heard, which for me is very apt, is that this was a gift, but it was a gift wrapped in barbed wire. And if I hadn't gone through that, I wouldn't have met thousands of individuals. I wouldn't have worked with hundreds of families. I wouldn't be here talking to you. So while I would never wish that on anybody, I needed to go there to be here.
I'm often surprised at people's strengths and resilience. And the thing that I find with families is it's like very gratifying work, when people allow you in to get a peek at their world and to share something so profound with you. So there's something, I don't know, very touching about the work. That's what I'd have to say, and which makes it very satisfying, because sometimes some of my friends or peers would say, how do you do this work? Well, actually, it's very life-affirming, and I think that's a surprise. And I don't know if that's been your experience, out of, like sometimes from the ashes, really the phoenix arises, and I think that isn't like a metaphor. I see that.
Families are strong. That's one thing I learned about myself, is that we're really strong. I'm kind of mesmerized that I went through this as a young girl at 16, and then I went through it a second time, and I'm thriving as a person, just as a person, not as a mother, not as a caregiver, just as a person, because I took the steps, I reached out, and I just realized we're strong. And just for families to know that about themselves, and a part of that strength comes from educating yourself on what mental illness is, taking care of yourself, and remembering that you're important, your health's important, your well-being's important, and so you need to take care of that, and that you have it in you to do it.
The one Christmas we did the gingerbread house building with the families, and one family came together, and it was the first time in I think over 6 years that they had actually gone somewhere together as a family, and we watched them build this gingerbread house. And they were laughing and they were eating candy and there was icing everywhere and powdered sugar everywhere. And afterwards, the father came up to me and he thanked me. He grabbed me, gave me a big hug, and whispered in my ear that this was the most fun that his family had had in years. Who'd have thought that some gingerbread and some icing sugar could bring so much joy? Their house was lopsided. And he said to me, that's because we know that houses just aren't always straight and perfect. And there was a real moment of joy. And even thinking about it makes me a little emotional because they were so happy. And I have that photograph of that family on my computer. It's in there. And every once in a while I open it up and I look at it and I always smile. And I'm pretty sure that they remember that night and will remember that night for a really long time.